Dan.
Hello, Rick.
It's cold.
Not too bad, actually.
Oh, you got your hat on.
Well, the hat and, I'm layered up.
You are layered up. Well, here we are at Pod Populi for the final show of Sugar Crush and the rest of the story. And we'll also talk about Capital Fit as well.
Absolutely.
So today I thought we'd do a little reminiscing.
Yes.
And, I looked up that word. Let me see if I can get that word I was going to start out the show with. We'll find this in a second. This word is really interesting. Here it is. Pantophagus. Pantophagus, rather. It means a very sophisticated word for eat anything you want. It's kind of like the omnivore diet.
Well, it's what everybody's doing during this Christmas season here. Today is the day before Christmas Eve day. Right. It's the 23rd of December, 2023.
Right. Start with the jelly beans, huh?
Yeah. Right.
So,
gosh, I used to eat that. I used to buy 30 to 40 boxes of C's candy for my clients.
C's candy.
Get all loaded up, typically truffles, right? Because everybody loves truffles.
Oh,
high quality.
God.
And
that's
I would run around.
Company.
That's right.
Yeah. So he made a fortune over you.
Fortune. He did.
He's driving the Bentley and you're driving what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you like those truffles?
Well, it was just a nice, a great brand. You could trust it, right? It'd come whatever fresh. I'd buy a bunch of boxes, throw it in my car, and just drive to clients' homes, offices to, give them some holiday cheer. Say thanks for your business for 20. Whatever the year was, and thanks for your referrals. That's when I was practicing. I had my financial planning practice. But
I think that's a pretty common thank you for the end of the year. But really, what we're doing with that sugar?
No,
we know better, don't we?
We do. It took me a half a century to figure it out, and with being your close friend and learning so much in the last 3 years, especially from your book, Sugar Crush, I have learned. I've changed my entire diet.
Well, it's hard to do. So, I had the new book coming out in January called Unglued.
Unglued.
So let's start with that word. Yes. Unglued. As you well know, you were with me when we went to that think tank last year in Hollywood, in Ballywood, Hollywood. And I was asked the question, what's the meaning of the word glucose? Right. And I gave the biochemical answer, of course. And he said, no. What does the word mean?
Right.
And I said, I don't know.
What is the essence?
Yes. Look it up like I just did with that word. Well, it's a Greek word, which is a derivation of that word.
Yeah.
And it means to adhese, to stick together. Glucose is glue.
Glue. Right.
And he said, and therefore the book should be called Unglued. So how do we get unglued when we're eating all those truffles and jelly beans at every holiday, every birthday? It's an American tradition, and now we have an obesity epidemic, and no one seems to be able to figure it out.
Well, how about the guy that just came in the studio? We walk in, two guys.
Yeah.
One's guy, he rides with the Charros every year, right? That iconic group here of business leaders, and he wasn't in tip-top shape, but, I said, my podcast is about what's your wealth without your health. He's building high-end custom homes in Silverleaf and Troon, and he's working with a lot of, wealthy folks who have built their wealth over the years. And and his friend is here talking about you and his Haglund's
deformity. Yeah, so I haven't given that much thought, the connection to sugar. Of course, I won't go into the name of the company, but it's a big one. It was around for 150 years, just sold it out to a big conglomerate that makes bakery products, which is sugar.
Yes.
So how does Haglund's relate to that? So first of all, Dr. Haglund, which it seems like most diseases, which are not diseases, they're just markers of a place where the inflammation happened.
Right.
And Haglund's is in the back of the heel where the Achilles tendon inserts. So that is the correct diagnosis, but what's the mechanism? The mechanism is sugar plus trauma equals a bone spur and Achilles tendinosis. That's the term for a chronic degenerative condition of the Achilles tendon because sugar breaks the bonds of the normally occurring striations and makes it weak, body says that you need more bone. It forms a bone spur and usually results in surgery. However, now we know, and we know there's a 20-year history, at least in the modern era, of stem cells.
Right.
So my new book, Unglued, uses stem cells to dissolve the effects of sugar.
Right.
And Achilles tendinosis is a perfect example.
And when you told him that, he's like, huh?
Sure. No one told me that.
No one told me that?
Well, because the federal government doesn't want you to know that, because that would interrupt the entire medical pyramid, which is, as you see, number of hospitals being built in downtown Scottsdale and Phoenix throughout the city. There's one after another after another. They don't prevent disease. These are repair shops.
Right.
For what the effect of sugar causes. Very lucrative. That's how you monetize a disease. Now, we talk about the wealth and health effect.
Right.
But we didn't intend to talk about that. We were going to have some nice show.
Yeah.
Just summarizing year-end.
Some holiday cheer.
We did, and we've met a lot of people, one of which is Dave Owens, soil engineer at ASU, and has that show on, I think it's Channel 3.
The Green Guy, Channel 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Was he fascinating?
He understands the soil so well. And I mean, just hearing you talk for like 2 hours at breakfast, it was incredible. We were there to talk to Dory Morales, who's the publisher of the Green Living magazine.
Yeah, it's a big magazine too.
And she talked about that and having her upcoming symposium she's hosting at the Village in Gainey Ranch end of January, which you will be speaking.
Yeah. So that's a perfect venue because people are interested in health,
right?
But they don't really see the connection of diet.
Well,
with that.
There's gut health. There's somebody bringing a recipe to create your own kimchi, right? And
fermented vegetables. So let's launch off that point. So I have my new diet that I call the urban carnivore.
Right.
And what does that mean? Well, Lucy, our first primate. Now, if you buy into that theory, not everybody does, Darwinian type of evolution, but Lucy was, quote unquote, our first primate 3.2 million years ago, discovered by Don Johanson. And Don has his Institute of Human Origins at ASU.
Right.
And Dave, he actually went to school at ASU to study soil biology. So we're going to kind of put that together,
yes.
The microbiome.
Of the soil, microbiome of your gut.
He
and then we're going to be eating kimchi in a month.
Oh my God, yeah. So he's talking about the soil, but the soil of the body is the microbiome.
Right.
That's where the organisms are. They break down the food. They create the energy sources through the gut into
I find out, through our longevity conference at the Venetian last week in Vegas about the use of peptides, which is really an amino acid created in your stomach, which is the building block of all protein. But I think our microbiomes are so messed up. They're missing that ability to naturally make amino acids, and now they got peptides all over. I'm on this peptide. It's making me feel great, by the way, sleeping like a champ.
Right. Well, so there are many different peptides made out of really the peptide is an amino acid, a chain of amino acids to make a peptide.
Yeah.
But that's naturally made in the intestinal tract, the small intestine.
That's right.
And if that is that, I like to call it the estuary, give the metaphor of the
Mississippi River.
Since you're from Iowa, so I always like to put this in there. So Iowa, the Mississippi River.
Yes.
So it starts up in, where actually does it start above? Minnesota. What, a little drop of water forms a little rivulet and then, then a river.
A mile-wide river called the Mighty Mississippi.
The Mighty Mississippi
travels the whole center of the country.
Down to New Orleans. And the estuary down there is being polluted by the effluents flowing down the Mississippi, destroying our affluents because it's causing so many diseases. So what is in that effluent? In my opinion, the poor soil. What is washing out of it is the Monsanto's herbicide Roundup. Now, they're not the only ones, but there's a lot of different ones. Most recent is paraquat. So to be able to grow these crops, the soil is depleted. So we have to add things back, other we can't grow anything.
It seems like there was good intentions that went into it.
It seems
the
like
food supply, the soil was dead in the early 1900s, right?
That's right.
And they came up with the way to fertilize it.
With the Haber process of nitrogen and ammonia.
Yep.
And then that was depleted. And then Monsanto came up with the genetically modified herbicide, which is called Roundup, and the active ingredient is glyphosate. Now, I notice with people, the farmers, they always tell me, I say, do you use glyphosate? And they say, well, we use some stuff called glyphosate. But in science, we say glyphosate. So it sounds like two different words, but basically, what is it? It's the amino acid, again, glycine, and they added a phosphate group to it. Seems like such an infinitesimal change.
Right.
The magnitude of change in the microbiome.
Right.
So the microbiome, these organisms that live in your gut, there's about 1,000 of them, and we know the genetic code, and we can see the change.
Right.
So a very small change causes a magnitude of change in the effluence of your gut. There's a condition called SIBO, S-I-B-O, and S-I-F-O.
Yeah, so you hear that word being used all the time.
Yes, because it's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or small intestine fungal overgrowth.
10 years ago, I was referred to a chiropractor. She's got a phenomenal practice on Shea and 86th Street. She owns her office condo. Got referred to her for, I don't know, plantar fasciitis or something. I get in there, and she's an alternative medicine doctor, basically. And she talked about leaky gut. 10 years, I'm like, leaky gut? She said, well, you probably have a leaky gut issue, and you got this, and it's stress, and, your heart, mind, stomach doesn't talk, and it's all messed up. I didn't know any of this. And she said, you should take this supplement, and then, you should have this foot insole thing for your, to help with your arch and this and that. And so she had this whole, it's $3,000 or $4,000. We'll find. She had a whole system, like from you walk in and you walk out owing $4,000, and you're going to be there for the next 3 months. Phenomenal. But I was clueless to all of that.
Right. Well, it's all interconnected.
Thinking I was educated and fit, decent shape. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Hageland's deformity is on the back of the heel, and plantar fasciitis is at the bottom of the heel, so it has a different name. And itis means inflammation.
Itis, yeah.
But the real term we use now is osis, O-S-I-S, meaning fibrosis. Right. So the body heals by scarring, making scar tissue out of the inflammatory tissue. But what's causing the inflammation? And that word is sugar. And specifically, high fructose corn syrup. Where is that made?
Iowa.
Oh, Iowa again. Now, I get accused that I don't like people from Iowa. Well, I like you. You're from Iowa. And Carrie Lake's from Iowa. And my ex is from Iowa. No, it's not that I dislike them. I'm just trying to point out where this poison is coming from.
Right.
So when that was first instituted in the American diet during Nixon's administration, because the price of regular sugar was going up.
Right.
Japanese had produced that and developed that, and we put in our diet in 1974. That started, in my opinion, the cascade of disease.
Right.
All these itises. And one I think is really part of my theory that I think is the worst one is autism.
Right.
So 1974, if you look at the curve, it's very minimal numbers back in 1974. But 20 years later, after women started bearing children, 1994, then you start to see the curve goes up. By 2000, we had 16 autistic births per 10,000. Today it's 1 in 20.
1 in 20.
Yeah.
And when we bring up this fact with folks that we meet out at restaurants, they say, oh, they weren't quite looking at autism cases back in the day. So meaning they miscounted.
Right.
Like we really had more than we thought we did. But
better diagnosis.
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Right.
That's nonsense. No, it is a direct causal relationship between a chemical and the output and the nerve, and which nerve with that disease, in my opinion, is the hypoglossal nerve, the nerve that forms in the base of the brain, innervates the tongue. It's called a hypoglossal nerve. Innervates the tongue. What's its function?
What's my son?
Makes sound.
He didn't really talk until he was 3.
He couldn't because the nerve was not working, so he had delayed speech.
Yeah.
So I looked at all these different nerves, and the reason I got to this conclusion, obviously, for a very different pathway through Dr. Dellon, who taught me peripheral nerve surgery.
Lee Dellon,
Lee Dellon, and he just retired this year, by the way. Yeah,
you got to have him on your show.
I know.
What are you waiting?
I just saw him last month at the nerve meeting at Fort Worth. So he will be on the show.
You spoke at that.
Yeah. So I talk about dysautonomia. And that's a popular word now, I think, in some circles, which means the autonomic nervous system is not functioning.
Right.
And why is it not functioning? Because it's being interrupted by these sugars. And it also is depleting nitric oxide. And we had Dr. Nathan Bryant on the show.
That's right, Dr. Bryant.
And now he solved some of that puzzle by encapsulating nitric oxide so it dissolves and in the small intestine. So all these factors are all interrelated to all these diseases. Mm-hmm. So, but in Unglued, I say it doesn't really matter because stem cells, I say, don't give a rat's ass what you call uritis. Oh, you don't understand, doc. I have Haglund's. Well, they don't speak English, by the way, stem cells. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was down in Panama, and they speak Spanish, and they do not speak Spanish either.
Yeah.
So the new book really is about the effects of sugar, inflammation, the fibrosis, and all these different diseases we call them, from Alzheimer's to autism, Haglund's disease today, plantar fasciitis. They're all the same, in my opinion. Trauma plus sugar equals inflammation.
You talked about that a lot in your book, Sugar Crush, and your global compression theory, and how you're expanding that.
Right.
And it's so well written. You were kind enough to give me your manuscript.
Yes, the manuscript, the secret manuscript.
Yes,
Well, I thank you. I tried. It's a difficult subject to kind of make simple.
Yes,
but really simple
and readable.
And readable. Otherwise, it's too much science. Now I get criticism on both sides. Oh, you don't have enough research here. That's true. We need more research. I'm not denying that. But if I make it too complicated, no one's going to understand it.
Right.
If you eat sugar, you will get inflamed. But if you're 50, 70, 80, whatever, you're not going to change your diet. I'd like to point you to a carnivore type diet. Mm-hmm. But if you have an itis like a Haglund's or Achilles tendinosis, a plantar fasciitis, it goes on and on and on, use stem cells. I know a lot of people say, oh, you're killing babies. No, we're not killing babies. There is a substance called embryonic stem cell, which is illegal in the United States, but is used around the world. It does work, but it does have some ethical issues and also some medical issues because it can form teratomas, which are kind of like a cancer, and you don't want that. So, but the first Bush said no stem cell research for embryonic stem cells. That's why we have non-embryonic stem cell. Interesting, Dr. Neil Reardon, is from Scottsdale.
Right.
And he practiced like 2 streets away from me. I never met him when he practiced here. He moved to Panama, got a beautiful clinic down there. He treats autism, thousands of kids that couldn't be treated here. They're getting better. MS, multiple sclerosis, another.
Jerry's kids.
And then muscular dystrophy, Jerry's kids.
I used to, go raise, 2 cents per mile when I'm like 10, 12, 14.
Yeah, let's talk about Jerry. Where's that money?
Where's that?
You're in the every September it was massive, the telethon.
Yeah.
Where's the money?
Right.
Where's the cure? Well, let's talk about
Where's
the cure.
for breast cancer,
we got, what's her name?
Susan B. Komen. And,
there's no.
Wear the pink, and it's like.
Yeah, even got the NFL wearing pink shorts. I mean,
right.
But
where's the cure?
There's no cure.
Billions and billions.
Wait a minute. We have another guy, used to be from here, since passed, John McCain. Well, he convened a non-embryonic stem cell committee meeting, the U.S. Senate, 2003, 62 pages. It's public knowledge. invited lots of different professors, one of which I know personally, Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg,
right.
And she's from Duke, and she gave a great lecture at the Perinatal Stem Cell Society meeting in Utah, 2000, time flies, 6-7 years ago. I was there.
Yeah.
She showed excellent slides on gene arrays, which are the epigenetic portion of this. And she showed films of kids who could not speak and kids who were in braces who could not walk. So we had autistic kids and muscular dystrophy, 2 different diseases. Really? 2 different diseases? She gave them stem cells, same dose, from same umbilical tissue. I won't get into the details of the dose and whatever. It was the same. I said, Dr. Kurtzberg, you fixed autism and you fixed muscular dystrophy. Number one, that's not a genetic disease because you reversed it. Because if it was genetic, it would be immutable, meaning it couldn't be reversed.
Right.
But if it's epigenetic, you change the genes, in the epigenome, and both got better. So they're not different diseases; they're just manifestation.
And you had this conversation with her.
Oh yeah. And she testified before Senator McCain's committee, and the senator said, "This is a miracle." That was 20 years ago. Where's the miracle? Why isn't it readily available? Why do you have to go to Panama? Why do you have to go to Mexico?
Yeah.
Steve Ward says, what does Steve say?
It's scandalous.
It's scandalous. It really is. So now we have the wealth of the nation, and this is your point.
Right.
We have Zuckermiller, who... Druckenmiller. Stanley. And he's an economist, and he addressed the USC Economics Forum graduating class and said, if we don't solve this...
if you don't solve this, he's pleading with the students.
Pleading with the students and the country that all the tax revenue is going to go to entitlements, which is Medicare and Medicaid, and most of that's going to go to Big Pharma, and we will be dead broke.
Yeah.
Is that what we want? Oh, we're going to start this off as a celebration of the year.
True, Rick. You're really kind of going down this negative path.
You feel
we're going to be. I thought we were talking about being grateful. We're grateful for. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you getting the word out here, and grateful for being able to, start and continue. I've recorded now 25 podcasts. We started with the first one together.
Right.
And it has changed my life, and but we've changed the lives of our listeners. We were playing pickleball. We show up one day, and she says, "Oh my gosh, I have your voice in my head after listening to me."
You're talking about Marta.
And she's like, "I can't get enough of your podcast and the knowledge that we share." And
let's give a shout out to Marta.
Yes.
Marta. She's of Russian descent.
And phenomenal pickleball player.
Oh my God, she's
doesn't
great.
Stop.
She doesn't stop. Actually, going to play with her tomorrow. She has a great story because she emigrated.
We have some fans out here in the studio. We have to wave.
Oh yeah,
admirers.
Well, she emigrated from the Soviet Union. She had a degree in engineering and got out of there. Luckily, unless we're talking about gratitude, she comes here and she's landed in Land of Opportunity in 1992. But that probably was the pinnacle of our economic growth. Now it's starting to go down. So she saw what was happening in the Soviet Union. She sees what's happening here.
Right.
And
the decay. From LA to San Francisco to Portland.
Oh, it's just terrible.
Friend from Seattle just moved out of Seattle, his favorite city.
Yes.
He's here in Paradise Valley.
Yeah. So he escaped.
He escaped. Took his company and employees, and you're hearing that every single day.
Everywhere. And
the brain drain from Russia. All these great, like Marta. I mean, she should be back in her home country.
Yeah, but
and then she finds out the food here over the last 20 years. You hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
My friend from Poland, I've got to know over the last couple of weeks, and she's like, moved my kids here, and I want to go back to Poland because the food's better there.
It is.
And I'm hearing that constantly from all these international
right, because they don't allow genetically modified food in Europe. That's part of the Ukraine problem because that's the breadbasket of Europe. Putin said no to GMOs, and it was John Deere and Monsanto. He said no. And that's part of the problem.
That's the rest of the story.
That is the rest of the story. So we're going to end on a positive note because we went to M4A, right, which is
A4M.
A4A.
Right, A4M.
A4M.
A4, and M, a longevity wellness conference of the Venetian, 600 exhibitors. All alternative healing modalities, from red light to peptides to the Tesla coil I had sitting on my lap and my back, and exosomes. Oh, like you were in hog heaven there.
I was.
You're like, your eyes are like this big.
I couldn't go to all the vendors. There was just too many. It would take me 6 years to vet out all these companies.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the positive portion of this.
It was.
These are 600 independent, non-government funded entrepreneurs. Absolute geniuses.
I was there with Apollo Neuro, the wearable.
Oh, and MedWatch. And Blink.
Dr. Brian was there with his nitric oxide. Yeah.
These are individuals put their money up.
I mean, he's raising $20 million to prove that nitric oxide helps reduce and eliminate Alzheimer's.
Yes, well, it's a component of that because
just one guy from Austin, Texas, raising $20 million to prove something that should have been solved, like Forbes said, decades ago.
Yeah, the problem with our medical system, we're looking for a drug to solve these things. Nitric oxide helps bring more oxygen to the nerve that's affected. So his company is excellent. He's a professor, and he's very well versed in that subject. And I know that subject well because I worked with Dr. Cook at Stanford on that.
Right.
In 2005. So
you studied the biomarker.
ADMA. You know this well.
Well, asymmetric dimethylarginine.
Oh my God, we got a biochemistry.
We're talking,
So we'll get into all the specific diseases throughout the rest of the year.
Right.
But the real up story here is 600 vendors.
Yes.
Each one with a unique application to our health.
Right.
So, and they're all looking for money. Obviously, they got to get funded to get it out. You're helping a lot of these companies do it. Right. On a final note, let's just talk about Blink, because I should have brought the glasses.
Blinkframes.com.
Yes.
The coolest 3-minute intro video you've ever seen.
Exactly.
Joshua Park, the founder, they have such a great technology. They got a $2 million grant, and just one got recognized as the top Oculus, platform out there out of 40 companies that submitted, and they won number one in terms of their innovation.
Yeah. So what it is this glass is similar to this. I mean, in the frame, there's a camera,
right,
and all the technology uploads to the cloud,
continuously analyzing your eyes,
your blinks,
your
and looking at 30 different diseases. One of which I thought was really amazing is myopia. So since we're using all these electronic devices,
30%. What was
It's 30% of the kids. There was a good study out of Taiwan that looked at all those things.
30%.
30%, yeah. So kids are getting eye disease way before they should.
And that's why he's focused on the pediatric market first, and really trying to stem the tide of.
So we had Blink. We had MedWatch, measure your glucose, and all kinds of different things, non-invasively with an optical scanner.
Right.
So let's keep hope alive, as Jesse Jackson always said. Yes.
Sure.
Let's end it on a positive note. So it's been a great 2023.
It has been.
And 24 is going to be a super year, I think. And
your book will finally be in the hands of the reader and on Audible, hopefully at some point next year.
It's finished right now. No more edits.
And then you have your new academy. drjacoby.academy.
Yep. And then I can teach all the specifics of how to be a urban carnivore.
Yeah, exciting.
Meaning that Lucy, our first primate, she obviously lived in a forest. We don't have a forest. We are urban dwellers, and we need to learn how to eat those things that are available to us and use all these electronic devices to our advantage.
So people can find you on social media. Instagram. Is it Dear Jacoby? Jacoby.
I got a lot of acronyms going on there.
LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah. You're out there. Your videos are being produced. And
they are.
Published.
Yeah.
So, and you're just a wealth of knowledge. You've changed obviously the life of myself, my friends, my family. So thank you for what you've contributed to society. You've been a gift your whole life.
Obsessed is the word. So
you have the sense of urgency to get.
I need to get this out to the public. It can be solved. It is solved. I shouldn't say needs to be solved. Yeah. It is solved. It just has to be broadcast to the people so they can get it, and life will be good.
Absolutely.
Dan, Rick, thank you.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.